You're not a real man. Leaving mom on the street over some dumb mistake from before I was even born? Pathetic. That's what Sophie said to me. My daughter, or the girl I raised as mine. She stood in the kitchen, arms folded, jaw tight, glaring at me like I was the villain in some story she hadn't heard the whole truth about. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just looked at me with pure contempt, and something in me snapped, not in anger, but in finality. I didn't say a word back. I just handed her the envelope I'd been holding. Inside, a DNA test result and the address of a man named Troy Summers. Take these, I said, and pack your things. You've got 30 minutes. Let me take you back. It all started with a phone call. Late at night. I was half asleep, thinking it might be work or maybe my brother Ryan. But no, it was a man slurring into the phone, drunk and weirdly familiar. He asked if I ever wondered why Sophie didn't look like me. Said his name was Troy. Claimed he and Rachel had a thing, back in the day. Told me he had a feeling Sophie might be his. I hung up. Thought he was just some bitter clown trying to stir the pot. But the question stuck. And once it's there, you can't unhear it. Rachel, my wife of 22 years, was sleeping next to me while I sat there in the dark, staring at nothing. Next morning, I took a few strands of Sophie's hair from her brush and sent them to a lab. I didn't tell Rachel. I couldn't, not yet. Not until I knew for sure. A week later, the results came in. 0% match. I read that line over and over. My hands started shaking. My stomach dropped. I laughed, even. Not because it was funny, but because there was nothing left to feel. Laughter was just a reflex to the gut punch. I thought about every time I'd held that girl. Every school recital, every late-night homework meltdown, every father-daughter moment I thought was real. Rachel had lied. Every day. For 22 years. I didn't confront her immediately. I wanted to make sense of it first. I dug through old photos, journals, anything that might tell me what kind of marriage I'd really been in. And I found it. Her journal. One of the old ones from our first years together, back when we were still figuring life out. She used to write every night back then. Thought I never noticed. One entry hit me so hard I had to sit down. The details don't matter, not here. Just that she had been reckless. More than once. And Troy wasn't just some random mistake. She wrote about him by name. The same guy who'd called me in the middle of the night like he was calling a teammate from a team I didn't know I was on. The next morning, I made breakfast. Eggs. Toast. Coffee. Just like normal. Except this time, I placed the DNA test and a copy of the journal page on the table like a funeral spread. Rachel came down in her robe like it was any other day. Smiling. Hair tied up. Not a care in the world. What's all this? She asked. Breakfast, I said. And a funeral. She gave a confused laugh. I slid the papers across the table. She read them. Slowly. Her eyes moved, but her face didn't change. Then she looked up. You went through my journal? She asked. That's what hit me the hardest. That's what she focused on. Not the fact that Sophie wasn't mine. Not the lie that had propped up our marriage. Just her privacy. That's what you're worried about? I said. That was over 20 years ago, Derek. We weren't even married yet. And Sophie, she didn't answer. Just looked at me like I was the one causing all this pain. You're seriously going to destroy our whole family over something from that long ago? You destroyed it, I said. I just found the pieces. Right then, Sophie walked in. She glanced at the papers. Looked at her mom. Then me. You're pathetic, she said. Rachel didn't flinch. Didn't deny anything. Just watched me like she'd already won. So I stood up. Calm. Cold. I handed Sophie the address of Troy Summers. Go meet your real dad, I said. I'm done pretending. She stormed off upstairs. Rachel stayed planted, sipping her coffee. You're really going to blow up our whole life over this? She asked. Over a technicality? A technicality? I repeated. That what you're calling it now? We weren't married when it happened. I needed you, Derek. That's why I didn't tell you. Needed me, I said. Like a job. Like a loan. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I sat down, suddenly exhausted. My ears were ringing, not from rage. That came later. This was disbelief. A slow, drowning kind of silence. She finally looked at me like she was bored with it all. What now? You gonna cry to a lawyer? Try to take the house? Good luck. Half of it's mine. She didn't know I'd already been to a lawyer. Already separated my name from her debt. Already gathered everything I needed. She thought I was still the same man who rubbed her feet at night and brought her tea when she had a headache. But that man was gone. He died the night Troy called. Sophie's door slammed upstairs. hard enough that I heard a picture fall off her wall. I didn't flinch. I didn't chase her. Rachel just stood in the kitchen, leaning against the counter with her coffee like we were having a casual disagreement over groceries. "You're seriously doing this?" she asked, throwing 22 years away like it was nothing. I looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't upset. She wasn't ashamed. She was annoyed. Like this was an inconvenience. Like I was the problem. "I didn't throw anything away," I said. "You did that a long time ago. You just never thought I'd find out." She tilted her head. "So what's your plan now? You going to sue me for emotional damage? Call your lawyer, buddy." I didn't answer. I just stared at her, and she kept going. "You really think you can just kick me out? That's not how this works, Derek. You think because you found a test and an old journal, you suddenly have the upper hand? You don't." She was still talking like she owned the room. Still talking like she had cards left to play. What she didn't know was that I'd already met with Ethan Cole, a divorce attorney with a reputation for leaving scorched earth behind. I'd pulled our bank records, froze the accounts, cleared my name off every debt she stacked under us. I wasn't walking into this blind. "You've got 1 hour," I said. "Call whoever you're staying with. After that, I'm changing the locks." She laughed, but there was a crack in it now. Just a flicker. Her hands weren't as steady. "You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious. I have rights, Derek." "Yeah, and I've got receipts." She walked off, phone in hand, muttering under her breath. Her voice shifted, first angry, then low and sweet. She was calling someone. Probably Troy. Maybe another one of her fallback options. I stayed downstairs, breathing through it, letting the silence build. This was no longer about saving anything. It was about clarity. It was about reclaiming whatever pieces of my life still belonged to me. After about 40 minutes, I walked upstairs. She was packing, if you could even call it that. Clothes crammed into a suitcase with no care. Drawers pulled open, closet half emptied. There was panic under the surface now. You could smell it. When she saw me, she didn't stop folding a sweater. Just said, "You're throwing away your family over something I did before we were married. You lied about it for 22 years. I lied because I had to." "No. You lied because you thought you'd never get caught." She zipped the suitcase hard. "Sophie's not going to forgive you for this." "She might not," I said. "But at least I gave her the truth." "You never did." Rachel finally turned and looked at me. Really looked. Her face wasn't smug anymore. It was tight. Calculating. "What are you holding back?" she asked. I pulled a flash drive out of my pocket and flipped it in my hand. Her eyes locked on it. "What's that?" "Insurance." She froze. "Audio of our arguments," I said. "Digital copies of your journal entries. Bank statements showing money sent to Troy and 2 other names I didn't recognize." Her voice caught. "You went through my accounts?" "Our accounts," I said. "And yes." Her expression changed. A flicker of panic behind the anger now. "You're disgusting." "No. I'm prepared." She grabbed her phone and started texting, fast and angry, probably trying to line up her next move. I didn't stop her. I didn't care. Then the doorbell rang. We both froze. She didn't move, like she was waiting for me to check. I went downstairs, opened the door, and found a man standing there in a cheap gray suit with a smug little smile. "Derek Carter?" "Yeah. I'm Mr. Dillard. I represent Rachel. Just here to talk. Nothing formal." "You're early. She's still on the lease, you know." I didn't respond. Just handed him a manila envelope. He opened it right there. Inside were photos of Rachel and Troy from Vegas. Recent ones. A hotel receipt from 5 years ago. Screenshots of their texts. A scanned copy of the journal page. And financial transfers from our joint account to Troy. He flipped through it slowly. The smile slipped from his face. "Okay," he said. "I'll talk to my client." I closed the door. Back upstairs, Rachel had clearly seen the look on his face through the window. When I walked in, she was standing by the bed, her arms crossed, eyes darting. "You've been planning this," she said quietly. "No. I've been waking up." She stared at me. And then, like she was flicking a switch, she dropped her voice to that tone she used to use when she wanted to hurt me. "You were never enough for me, Derek." I didn't move. "You were always soft. Predictable. I married you because I was pregnant and scared. Not because I loved you." That landed. I let it. I didn't respond. "Thank you," I said instead, "for finally saying it." She pushed past me with her suitcase. Stormed down the stairs. At the door, she looked back one last time. "This isn't over." I nodded. "No, it's not." And then she was gone. For the first time in 2 decades, I was alone in that house. No lies. No masks. No pretending. Just silence. It should have felt like peace. But deep down, I knew better. Because Rachel? She wasn't done. Not even close. The door clicked shut behind her, and the silence that followed was deafening. No footsteps. No coughing. No mug on the counter. Just quiet. The kind that gets inside your head and rattles around. I didn't sleep that night. Not from regret. Not because I missed her. But because everything in the house suddenly felt stolen. The couch we bought together. The framed photos on the hallway wall. Even the little scuffs on the floor where Sophie used to skid around in socks when she was a kid. None of it felt like mine anymore. I sat in Sophie's room for a while. Same lava lamp glowing blue like it always had. Same posters on the wall. Same photos of us, me with my arm around her, her with that smile that used to feel like home. But all of it felt hollow now. I tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. Tried again the next morning. Still nothing. By noon, I got a message from her. 4 words. Don't contact me again. I stared at it like it was written in a language I didn't understand. This wasn't Rachel texting me out of spite. This was Sophie, the girl I raised. The one I'd sat beside through flu seasons and algebra breakdowns. The one I taught to ride a bike, helped through her first breakup, drove 6 hours to help move into her college dorm. Gone. Just like that. Because her mother lied, and I told the truth. I walked out to the garage. Found the bottle of Jack I hadn't touched in years. Opened it. Took 2 long swigs. It burned. I welcomed it. Then my phone rang. My brother Ryan. You holding up? He asked. No, I said. She's gone. Sophie too. He didn't say anything for a second. Then, I know you don't want to hear this, but stay sharp. Rachel's not the kind of woman who just walks away. I've got the evidence. All of it. And she's got manipulation in her blood, he replied. She'll twist it. You know she will. He wasn't wrong. Rachel could sell rain to a storm cloud. She could cry on cue. She could play the victim better than anyone I'd ever met. And Sophie? She was still young. Hurt. Easy to influence. That evening, I got a knock at the door. I opened it and felt my breath hitch. It was Melissa, an old friend of Rachel's. We hadn't seen her in years, not since that Miami trip where Rachel and a few friends supposedly had a girls' weekend. Melissa looked nervous. Hoodie, no makeup, hands shaking a little. Can I come in? She asked. I need to talk to you. We sat at the kitchen table. She kept glancing over her shoulder like Rachel might burst through the door at any second. I heard what happened, she said quietly. And I need to tell you something. I didn't say a word. Just waited. Do you remember that Miami trip? The one Rachel said was just the girls. Yeah. She lied. Troy was there. And 2 other guys. It wasn't a girls' trip. It was a reunion. Something more. I didn't want to be part of it. I left after one night. My jaw tightened. And you're telling me this now. Why? Because I didn't know she was still lying to you. I figured by now you'd figured it out. But when I heard you kicked her out and Sophie left too, I thought maybe you needed someone on your side. I looked at her hard. Back then, did she ever talk about me? Melissa hesitated, then nodded. She said being with you felt like being asleep. That you were nice but boring. That you were safe. She said she married you because you were stable, not because she loved you. I didn't blink. I just let it settle in. Melissa looked down. I'm sorry, Derek. I really am. She left a few minutes later. And just like that, another piece of the lie crumbled. Rachel hadn't just been unfaithful. She had despised me quietly for years. I was her security blanket, her cover story, her safe harbor while she lived another life behind my back. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to survive this quietly. I wasn't going to pick up the pieces and start fresh. No, I was going to make sure Rachel felt every consequence she thought she was too clever to face. She lit the match. I was just going to hand her the gasoline. The next morning, I didn't throw on sweats or sit around drinking. I put on my best suit. Not for court. Not for a meeting. For war. Rachel thought she'd wrecked a marriage. She had no idea she'd humiliated a man who had spent his life building a kingdom she got to rule. Now, I was taking back every brick. My first stop was Ethan Cole, my lawyer. No ties to Rachel. No tolerance for games. A guy who believed in paperwork that punched people in the throat. He looked up from the folder I dropped on his desk. You're serious about going all in? She wants a fight, I said. She'll get one. He nodded. She's already moving. Filed for alimony. Emotional distress. Claimed you created an unstable environment. Even said you verbally abused her. I laughed, bitterly. She's weaponizing my silence now? She's good, Ethan said. I'll give her that. But she's not careful. And she didn't expect you to have all this. He flipped through the evidence, the DNA results, the photos from Vegas, journal pages, records of money funneled to Troy, and others from our joint account. There were even purchases made from donation accounts linked to her volunteer work. She's exposed, he said. You give me 2 weeks. I'll have her begging for a settlement with nothing but a suitcase and half a hairdryer. That's not enough, I said. He raised an eyebrow. You want to go beyond divorce? I want everything. Her social circle, her online presence, her inspirational mom image. If she built a name lying to people, I'm tearing that name off her like a badge she didn't earn. Ethan leaned back in his chair. All right then, we're talking public image warfare. PR, social strategy, maybe even a PI. Do it, I said. By noon, we had frozen the joint accounts, canceled the credit cards she used for her lifestyle. I flagged the assets, set the ball rolling on a restraining order if she so much as walked past my mailbox. I wanted her to feel it every hour of every day. That evening, I drove to the rec center where she volunteered, the place she used as a stage to play the devoted wife and pillar of the community. I walked in and handed the director a sealed envelope. Inside, screenshots of misused donation funds, purchases made with rec center cards, and a signed letter from Melissa confirming what she witnessed on those trips. The director looked pale before he even got halfway through the folder. Who are you? He asked. Her husband, I said. Soon to be ex. He didn't ask another question. By sundown, Rachel had been suspended from the program. She called that night. I let it ring 10 times before picking up. What did you do? She screamed. My cards aren't working. The rec center called. My lawyer says you're dragging this through the mud. I didn't yell. I didn't raise my voice. You made it public, I said, when you lied for 22 years. This isn't revenge. This is correction. You're destroying my life. No, I said. I'm giving you a preview of what mine became the second I opened that DNA test. She went quiet. Then her voice cracked, smaller now. Derek, we can fix this. You and me. We've been through worse. I actually laughed. No, Rachel. You threw this away in that Vegas hotel. Or maybe years earlier when you wrote about how much you hated waking up next to me. Silence. You think you're strong? I said. You haven't seen strong yet. I hung up. I didn't want justice anymore. I wanted her ruined. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. Derek? It's Jenna. Jenna was Rachel's best friend from college. Maid of honor at our wedding. Godmother to Sophie. We hadn't spoken in a while. What do you want? I asked. To talk. We met at a local diner. I picked the booth near the back wall. Seat to the exit, clear view of the door. I didn't trust anyone connected to Rachel anymore. Jenna sat across from me, wearing sunglasses and nerves. I know you hate me right now, she started. But you need to know, most of us had no idea what Rachel really was. Some of us suspected, sure. But we didn't know. She always had an explanation. She made you sound cold. Controlling. Of course she did, I said. She's spinning this now, Jenna continued. Crafting a whole narrative. Telling people she was young and scared. That you're some kind of manipulative narcissist. She's even talking to influencer platforms, trying to get ahead of the story. I stared at my coffee, black and bitter, the way Rachel used to drink hers. Jenna slid an envelope across the table. Inside, screenshots from old group chats, private messages, voice notes Rachel had sent years ago. One in particular caught my eye. Rachel joking that Sophie looked more like Troy than me. I clenched my jaw. Why are you showing me this now? Because I was one of the idiots who covered for her, Jenna said. She told me to lie. Told me to say we were shopping when she was sneaking off to meet Troy. But I didn't think she'd drag Sophie into this. I didn't think she'd try to torch you just to save her image. I took the envelope. Nodded once. Thanks. As she stood up, Jenna looked at me with something between guilt and respect. For what it's worth, she said, you always deserved better. She left, and I called Ethan right there in the parking lot. It's time, I said. We go public. Everything. Photos. Messages. The journal. The whole story. I want her exposed so thoroughly that no one takes her seriously again. Ethan's voice lit up. Already working on it. We've got a strategist. Timeline. Press release. Drop hits Monday. That weekend, Rachel posted 2 reels. One in her car, sobbing. Another in her bedroom, talking about toxic relationships and emotional abandonment. The comments were all heart emojis and hashtags. Hashtag you deserve better. Hashtag strong moms. Hashtag healing journey. I didn't respond. I waited. And on Monday morning, we dropped the bomb. A full expose. Titled, The Wife Who Lied for 22 Years, A Father's Story. Screenshots. Audio. Documents. Lawyer statements confirming the paternity deception and financial fraud. By noon, her comment section was on fire. By evening, she was trending for all the wrong reasons. Sponsors gone. Charity role revoked. Local groups distanced themselves. Friends stopped replying to her posts. And then, a message from Sophie. We need to talk. It was 7:42 p.m. when I heard the front door open. Not a knock. No text. Just the click of the lock and the slow creak of the hinges. I didn't move from the couch. I already knew who it was. Sophie. She stepped inside like she still belonged there, like she hadn't told me never to contact her again. Hoodie, no makeup, hair pulled back. Eyes red, nose puffy. She'd been crying. We stared at each other for a second too long. Then she finally spoke. Is it all true? I didn't answer with words. I just reached for the folder sitting on the coffee table, the one Ethan had used to torch Rachel's fake narrative, and slid it toward her. Sophie sat down, opened it, and started flipping through the evidence. Photos. DNA results. Screenshots. Her mother's journal. 10 minutes passed in silence. When she finally closed the folder, she leaned back, staring at the ceiling like it held some kind of answer. I thought you were just bitter, she said. Trying to punish her. I was, I said. But not with lies. I didn't need to make anything up. She said you hit her, Sophie whispered. Said you screamed at her. Said you told me I wasn't your daughter just to hurt her. I didn't blink. I never laid a hand on her. Never screamed at her. And I didn't tell you out of spite. I told you because it was the truth. The truth you had a right to know. She was quiet for a long time. Then, I told you to never contact me again. I know. I was scared. Everything was happening so fast. She said she had no one. That she needed me. And what about me? I asked. What was I, Sophie? A broken tool? Something to discard because it didn't match the box it came in. She winced. I didn't mean to choose. She was falling apart. I thought she needed me more. And what did I need? My voice didn't rise, but it cut sharper than yelling ever could. Did it ever occur to you that I might have been the one worth standing by? Tears filled her eyes. She didn't wipe them. I took a paternity test myself. I had to know. Troy is my biological father. I nodded. I already knew. She stared at the floor. So what now? You tell me. I want to be angry at her, she whispered. But she's still my mom. And I don't know what that makes me. You're still Sophie, I said. Still the kid I taught to ride a bike. The one who needed a nightlight until she was 10. But I'm not your father anymore. Not legally. Not on paper. Her voice cracked. Do you still love me? I didn't flinch. I don't know. I want to. But I don't even know who you are anymore. She cried. I let her. But I didn't comfort her. Not yet. That chapter hadn't been earned back. After a few minutes, she stood up. I'll go. At the door, she turned back. She's not okay. Mom. She's unraveling. No job. No friends. No one left. She said you took everything from her. I met her eyes. She took everything from me. I just took it back. If she does something reckless. That's on her, I said. Not me. That's what neither of you seem to understand. Actions have consequences. This is hers. She opened the door. Paused. Then closed it behind her. And for the first time since Rachel walked out, I felt peace. Real peace. But it didn't last. An hour later, police lights painted my walls red and blue. I opened the door. 2 officers. One tall, one silent. Derek Carter, the tall one asked. Yes. We need you to come with us. There's been an accusation of domestic violence and threats against your ex-wife. Just need to ask a few questions. I didn't resist. Didn't argue. Just grabbed my coat and walked out with them. I knew it was a trap. Rachel's last card. Dirty. Desperate. In the interrogation room, they read her statement. I supposedly showed up to her temporary apartment 2 nights ago, slammed her into a wall, screamed that she ruined my life, and threatened her. Pure fiction. I hadn't seen her since the day she left. Do you have an alibi? The officer asked. Yeah. I was home. Alone. Watching emails come in while my lawyer dismantled her public image. Can anyone verify that? My lawyer. He sent me docs that night. Check the timestamps. I was online. He jotted it down. Your daughter said you seemed unstable when she visited you yesterday. That unstable man gave her the folder of evidence that told the truth. I didn't yell. I didn't touch her. Ask her. An hour later, they let me go. No charges. Just pending review. When I stepped outside into the cold, my phone buzzed. Ethan. She filed it, he said. Restraining order attempt. Abuse claims. Emotional trauma. She's drowning, Derek. And when people drown, they grab anything they can, even if it means dragging you down too. Then I want one filed against her. I want her blocked from every kind of contact. If she breathes in my direction, I want her in contempt. We'll file first thing tomorrow. I sat in the car for a while, watching people walk by, wondering how many of them were living lies. Smiling through it like I had. When I got home, I walked straight into the bedroom. Opened the drawer where I used to keep the notes she'd write me. Back when I thought we had something real. I dumped them into the fireplace. Lit a match. Watched the words curl into ash. A few days passed. The false accusation fizzled. No proof. No bruises. No witnesses. The cops dropped it. Quietly. But Rachel's name? That was ruined beyond repair. Sophie texted again. Just one word. Sorry. I didn't reply. She made her choice. Now she lives with it. A month later, the divorce was finalized. No alimony. No house. No car. Rachel walked away with exactly what she came in with. Nothing. In court, I looked at her one last time. Her face was hollow. No makeup. No pride. Just exhaustion stretched into hatred. As we left the courtroom, she stopped beside me. You think you won? I met her eyes. No, I said. I didn't win. I survived.